So over the course of time that I've been on YouTube, I have been getting a plethora of questions each and every week regarding the different equipment that I use, the chemicals that I use, how do I carry different things to and from the job, how do I organize things. I get asked a ton of different questions regarding just detailing in general. So today I want to address a question that I got asked from one of you guys regarding what type of applicator pads do I use for my business. But I figured, why just cover applicator pads when there are a ton of different styles of applicators that you guys can use throughout your guys' detailing processes. So today we're going to be going over all the different applicators that I use for detailing, not just the pads, but also all the brushes and everything else that I use to apply different dressings, different sealants, waxes, ceramic coatings, whatever I need to apply with some type of applicator. That's what we're going over today. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. So earlier this week, I got asked a question by one of you guys regarding what type of applicator pads do I use for my business. And when I first saw that question, I actually thought to myself, I don't even know if I could do a full video on applicator pads because I don't use a lot of applicator pads. But then earlier this week, I started organizing different things here on the shelf, and I actually realized I have a ton of different applicators. Maybe not just applicator pads, but I have a ton of different things that I use to apply different dressings, different waxes, all that kind of stuff, different leather care products and stuff like that. So I have a ton of different applicators. So we're going to go over all the different applicators that I use one by one. Some of these applicators I really don't use a ton these days, but I still have them in the detailing rig because there are often still times that I find myself using them. So starting off with our very first applicator, these are the applicators that you guys will probably most likely start off with. These are your microfiber, circular, or even rectangular, plain old-fashioned applicator pads. Now you can get these for super cheap. A lot of times I used to get these over at Harbor Freight. They have the blue microfiber ones, and they also have the terry cloth ones, which are great for stuff like you could apply leather dressings and stuff like that with a terry cloth. You could apply plastic dressings and stuff like that with a terry cloth. So these type of simple applicator pads are really nice to have in your vehicle for stuff like leather care, stuff like your plastics, and all of that type of stuff. So these are the very first type of applicator pad that I would recommend, and you may occasionally see them in a foam style. The foam style also works really, really well, and a lot of people are starting to use these foam style applicators for stuff like ceramic coatings and stuff. So you can really use these applicators for almost anything, but these are usually the applicators that most people will start off with, and they work really, really good, and they're really inexpensive. Now coming up to our second type of applicator pad, these are the Swede applicator pads that you would typically use for applying ceramic coatings. Now I also find that once you guys are done with your ceramic coating, you guys can actually throw these little rectangular guys into a rinseless wash bucket or something like that, and then you can actually wash them out and use them later on for other types of dressings, to apply other types of stuff. Maybe you guys have a leather conditioner you guys want to apply with a nice suede applicator pad. These work really, really good for just applying all sorts of stuff, not just ceramic coatings. Now, since we're talking about ceramic coatings real quick, I figure I should show you guys what my actual favorite applicator pad right now is, and I don't just use them for ceramic coatings. I also use them for all sorts of other stuff, specifically leather conditioners. And that is these guys right here from Autofiber. I'll leave a link to these guys in the description down below. I actually picked mine up over at Car Supplies Warehouse, but you guys can also pick these up on Amazon or wherever you guys typically shop for your Autofiber products, but these are called the Autofiber pad savers, I believe they're called. They actually have a nice little barrier on the inside of these so that your chemical or your product, if you're using like a ceramic coating or something like that, can only seep so far down into this microfiber. It's actually not going to go into the pad that's inside of here, which is super nice compared to your traditional microfiber applicators, whether they're round or rectangular, but these are super nice because they don't absorb a ton of the chemical or a ton of the product that you guys are using. The product's really just going to stay on the outside here. So these are super nice, and they work really good for ceramic coatings, but I also find that these work really good for all sorts of other, for applying all sorts of other chemicals, like your leather care in particular, and your plastic restorer or your plastic repair type products. So these work super good, and you can use them in a ton of different ways, not just for ceramic coatings. Now, one other pad that I use specifically for ceramic coatings are these little Car Pro pads. This guy right here is a little ceramic coating block, is what I call it. One side has this really cushiony foam on one side, and the other side has a really thick, hard kind of foam. And in the middle of there, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it actually has a little groove on it. Now, those little grooves on there are actually to help hold one of these little suede pads. Now, this suede pad right here actually just kind of wraps over your applicator, kind of like so, and then you can tuck it into the sides. But this allows you guys to use, it's kind of similar to the saver pads where it has the barrier on the inside, only this guy, instead of having a barrier, you're just using a nice little suede square, and then your barrier is actually this foam pad, this thick orange foam piece right here. So the only spot that the ceramic coating can actually soak into is the black foam and the suede here on the front. So these work really good for ceramic coatings and stuff, but I do find myself using these type of applicators a little less these days now that I primarily am using the Autofiber saver pads. So those are the more traditional applicator pads that you guys would see, but I also use a bunch of other applicators. Now, this guy right here, this is your standard tire applicator for different tire dressings and all sorts of stuff like that. You guys can see that it has this nice little curve right here, so it fits the contour of your tire, and these things are super cheap. I mean, they're like $3 to $5 for a pack of them. These guys are really great for stuff like tires and all that type of stuff, but I actually have another tire applicator that I find myself using way more these days, and that is this one right here from Suds Lab. Now, excuse how dirty this thing is. I use it almost every single day, but this guy is getting a little bit dirty, so I do need to replace this, but this is a really good applicator pad. I find that having this little waffle to the pattern on here really helps out with getting into all the different grooves and all that kind of stuff. And even on my Range Rover, let's say, I have Pirelli Scorpion tires on them. They're a pretty smooth sidewall to the side of them. This works amazing on those smoother sidewall tires. Not your big knobby tires, but this works really good on all of your smooth tires, your typical SUVs, your typical cars, your typical tires that you guys see. This applicator is one of my absolute favorites. So I have one of these guys. This is the one that I use for my aerosol-based dressings, and I have another one that I actually use for my water-based dressings. So this is a really awesome pickup right here, and they're really cheap, and you can even pick them up at places like Walmart in a pinch. So super nice applicator, and I love this style of applicator just because it's so big, thick, and it feels like an actual tool in my hand versus one of these really cheap little foam kind of guys that just doesn't really feel that substantial in your hand when you're using it. Now, moving on from your traditional applicators that you guys would traditionally think about, we also have our brush style applicators. Now, these brushes right here, guys, these are leather care brushes. I got both of them from Car Supplies Warehouse. This is the actual Car Supplies Warehouse branded one, and this one is from Work Stuff. So these are both really good leather care brushes. brushes, but you can also use them to apply different dressings. So I love using these for dressings, whether you guys want to dress plastics and stuff like that, or you guys want to dress your leather. Having a brush really helps. You can kind of massage everything in, and then you guys can come back through with a microfiber towel and actually just kind of buff everything to get it to look the way that you guys want. So these brush style applicators are amazing. So I'll definitely leave a link to that. And these are some of the ones that I use the most these days, because they really just put down a good amount of chemical, and you can really just work it into the surface and then wipe everything off with a microfiber towel to get that look that you're really going for. So I love having brush style applicators, but I do use them to clean a ton, especially this work stuff one. This is my main leather cleaning brush, but I also use it in a pinch for leather dressing. Now moving on from there, guys, I know a lot of people actually like to use a thick brush for their tire dressings, especially when you guys are working on like a thick knobby tire. And personally, guys, I just don't really have any old brushes that I have that I'm willing to use for a dedicated tire dressing brush, but I do have some of these really cheap brushes right here from Amazon, and this one works phenomenally well for tire dressings. You guys can use it to actually apply dressings to those knobbier tires, or the tires that just have those deeper grooves in them that you guys really need something like a brush to really get down into all those little nooks and crannies of the tire. So this guy right here, this is my dedicated tire brush. It's a little bit smaller of a brush, but I like the control that I have with this one versus something bigger like this one right here, which is your traditional tire brush that you guys could use for cleaning tires. A lot of people actually use a brush very similar to this to actually dress their tires, but I find that having a smaller brush like this, you just get a little bit more control, and you can really pinpoint where you want to apply that dressing to, whether it's the outside rim of the wheel, that where the tire and the rim meet, or if it's you really trying to dab into some deep grooved tires. Now I do carry this specific brush inside of a little tiny bag, and that's just so it doesn't make a mess inside of my detailing vehicle, and then I can kind of just put it all together like this, and it works really good, so that if I have this thing soaked in tire dressing of some sort, it's just gonna drip down into this bag instead of dripping all throughout my vehicle or touching a bunch of stuff. So definitely get your guys selves some little 2x3 or 3x3 little bags or something like that, so you guys can put your detail brush inside of it so it's not dripping all over your vehicle when you guys aren't using it. Now the next type of tire dressing brush that I want to show you is this little guy right here. This guy is just a tiny little brush, and it is very tightly packed with the bristles in there. So the bristles are very small, and they're extremely tightly packed. Now something like this, you're really only going to use it on your smoother tires. This definitely doesn't work the best on those big knobby tires, but the way that this guy lays down product is really nice, and I just like the way that it works. So if you guys haven't tried out one of these tiny little tire brushes yet, these work phenomenally well, especially for all of your more gel-based tire dressings like this one from Meguiar's that I like. Now our last applicator in the bunch is kind of an oddball, but it's something that I actually got from TikTok, and that is this guy right here. This guy right here is an oral cleaner of some sort. I think I've never used one of these in my mouth, but I guess this is some type of oral cleaner. So all this guy is, it's a little, what shape is that? A sixagon. I haven't been in friggin' school in a while, shit. Anyways, guys, this guy right here is a little hexagon, but it is a spongy foam material right here. And this guy fits into the weirdest little spaces. So if I'm doing one of those full details where the client's really expecting the most, right? This guy right here can fit into all sorts of little areas like the vents and stuff like that. So not only can you use these for cleaning and dusting and whatnot, but you can also use them for applying dressings. So if you guys are working on a car where it has a little piece in between the plastics, right, that you can't get into with a microfiber towel, and you can't get into it with your applicator pad, that's where something like this comes in a ton of handy. You guys can actually just kind of get this a little damp with your water-based dressing or whatever dressings you guys are using, and you can apply it to stuff like your vents. You can apply it to different places on the dash where you really can't get your applicator pad into. So these definitely work. I don't use them a ton, but I do use these occasionally throughout the year on those higher end details or on those clients that I really want to make sure that I'm getting every single surface dressed and stuff like that. So these work really, really good, not only for cleaning, but also for applying dressing. And this one is a little controversial, but I figure I'm gonna add it here in this video because it is actually my most used applicator when it comes to detailing, and that is this guy right here. This is my detail sprayer. This is what I use probably 80% of the time for actually applying different dressings, for applying all sorts of stuff in the car, whether that's a leather dressing or a regular dressing, a tire dressing. This guy right here gets used more than all of these other applicators back here put together, because this guy right here is just so quick and easy to use. And then I just come through with a microfiber towel and get everything looking the way that I want. Make sure that there's not any overly saturated spots with the actual dressing or anything like that. Sometimes when you're spraying it, you get a little happy and there might be a little puddle on the dash or a puddle in a spot that you don't want there to be. So I always go back over it with a microfiber towel. But this guy right here sprays super, super nice. It leaves a very, very nice finish, and it takes way, way less time to apply your guys' interior dressings or tire dressings with something like this versus something like your traditional applicator pad, where you pretty much need to keep loading this guy up throughout the whole dressing process of dressing the vehicle. This guy right here, I can pretty much spray, wipe with a microfiber towel, move to the next spot, spray, wipe it all down with a microfiber towel, and it's just a super, super quick way of applying dressings, especially interior dressings and tire dressings. So I love, love, love this guy. I actually did a whole video on this guy. So if you guys haven't gotten yourself some type of detail sprayer yet, I think this is probably going to be your most used applicator. So get yourselves a detail sprayer. I actually did a full video on this detail sprayer in the past. This has a 1mm orifice on here, so it sprays out a little more product than the ones that you get at Harbor Freight. And this also has a really nice plastic reservoir, which is really important when you guys are using water-based products, so you guys don't have corrosion and stuff like that inside of your little metal hopper, I guess you could call it. But anyways, guys, this is probably my favorite applicator because it really helps me get my job done quickly and efficiently. Now, you guys don't need to have all of these type of applicators. Honestly, if I was really just gonna break it down and just have a couple applicators, I think I would go for something like this for my tires, something like this for the smoother tires, and then I would just go with these simple pad saver applicators from Autofiber, because not only can you guys use these for ceramic coatings, but you guys can also use them for all your regular dressings, your leather conditioners, all that type of stuff. And they also don't soak up a ton of product, so you're not wasting a ton of product. So those are all the applicators and applicator pads that I use for detailing. But in the comments down below, make sure you guys leave what type of applicators do you guys find yourself most using when it comes to different processes in detailing. So what are you guys using for your ceramic coatings? What are you guys using for your typical dressings? And what do you guys use for your tires? But anyways, guys, I definitely want to do more videos like this in the future. I figure there's no way I'm going to be able to touch on every single topic, only posting one time a week. And I like to keep Sundays fun for you guys, try different things, all that kind of stuff on Sundays. So if you guys would like to see more videos like this throughout the week where I'm addressing questions that you guys are asking, then I would love to do that. But yeah, let me know if you guys would like something like that. But anyways, guys, that is pretty much all that I had for today's video. So I will catch you guys on Sunday. Peace.